It has sort of become a staple that you see a lot of coaches put Proviron in a setup of creating more free hormone. Is it, is it really necessary when you've got a boatload of other androgens in play? Probably not.
So let's move over to another one that's basically the opposite. Let's move over to Proviron. So that's the only oral steroid that really has been shown to have some sort of aromatase inhibiting effect. And it also really lowers SHBG. Like it has an affinity for the SHBG compared to diet testosterone of 600 something. Again, it's a calculated value. So how much can you really extrapolate from that? But if you want to crush your SHBG, like you're doing a carnivore diet, high fat, low carbohydrate diet, and your growth hormone levels are low, then Proviron is the one to bring it down. Is there any other practical application of Proviron then?
Sometimes you might get someone say, oh, there's studies to improve sperm health and spermatogenesis. There's that extrapolative study that, to be honest, I don't think it's worth.
There's studies from the 70s.
A pinch of salt, basically. But like you said, I think...
Why go with Proviron when halotestin does the exact same thing? So, but you can have angry sex on Proviron and actually get satisfied. You probably get your partner pregnant. I think if I pull all those studies together, I think the percentage on halotestin was a little bit higher compared to Proviron. But there was a lot of live birth rates, of people who were otherwise infertile. Yeah, it's quite funny what they did in the 60s and 70s with these kinds of steroids.
Yeah,
I mean. I guess I'm not going to say like modern times, but it has sort of maybe become a staple that you see a lot of coaches put Proviron in a setup of creating more free hormone. Is it, is it really necessary when you've got, a boatload of other androgens in play? Probably not. You're just throwing something into the mix for the sake of it. Some application. If we were to rank this, like the last time from an anabolic performance aspect, probably in the middle at C or D for me, because there's nothing, like it has some positive benefits towards SHBG, but is it giving you any sort of anabolic effect or androgenic effect? No. So it's sort of
possibly androgenic, right? It's not going to do anything anabolic at all. It's probably the only like common steroid that doesn't grow any tissue. I would give it an E. Right. I think the only practical use perhaps would be if you were running something like the guy in the 70s, like they would run Deca, Primo, a little bit of D-ball for the estrogen, right? They would add a little bit of Proviron in typically to add some level of, androgenic activity into that cycle, right? Because Primo's not very androgenic. Perhaps if you were running like a Deca only cycle or something and you needed some DHT, I don't know. Outside of that, I don't see much use. Sometimes it's used in a prep cycle to create a little more hardness or vascularity, which it might do. But again, if you're using all that other stuff, is it really going to add anything?
More on top of the Superdrol or Winstrol? Probably not.
No. And I think that's why Victor Black originally banned me, because I questioned his use of Proviron and these things. And he was like, what the fuck is wrong with Proviron? I was like, well, what's right about Proviron?
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering too.
And
there's this floating rumor that one of the high-level prep coaches is megadosing Proviron with his athletes and creating a very unique look, like 200 milligrams to 300 milligrams Proviron per day. He does all the Olympians.
It flattens your wallet out so much that you can see the striated glutes through your pants.
Yeah, exactly. You just can't eat any food anymore.
Yeah.
Don't have money for cheesecake, so you don't cheat on your diet. Yeah. It's for me, the only practical application I see is when you're drug free, your SHBG is high. We're talking about 60, 70, 80, 100, whatever. And then you start at a low dose of 6.25 milligrams once or twice per day. Because, the scientific evidence shows that Proviron at lower dosages is selective and non-suppressive, improves fertility parameters. And usually that difference in lowering your SHBG is not enough to kind of offset the estradiol. If anything, the estradiol comes down more than the testosterone comes up. So I see it as basically a first start into the hormonization journey to kind of see how you respond to this altered hormone profile. That being said, I would still start with HCG monotherapy because the difference is so much more significant.
Yeah, you're really trying to improve that free hormone hypothesis setting of, you know, putting it in, lowering SHBG, more free testosterone equals less SHBG produced. I'd be in agreement with Kurt that I just don't see it as a, in terms of like, if we're looking at performance enhancing, there's other things that will do a much better job.
Yeah. And realistically, how much free hormone is going to be beneficial, not just get excreted, right? Like you don't want to crush your SHBG.
It just gets glucuronidated, you know?
I don't
and then
know.
all you have is albumin to
away.
transport it around. So, and again, you know, I made this whole deep dive on about the sexual hormone binding globulin receptor complex, you know, which does hold a little bit of merit. I mean, how much it contributes in the bigger picture with growth hormone and insulin, couple percent. But it's better to have a couple percent and lower your burden than to have 0%.
Yes.
And your free hormones are all over the place, spilling over into androgenic or into tissue where you don't want any androgenic activity.
Like the non-genomic skin receptors?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a bad joke. There's no such thing. That's called 5-alpha reduction. I'm going to get shit for that.
Yeah, we always get shit for something, man. We always get shit for something. All right, so Proviron, E-tier, because it does have some limited applications.
Yeah, and it's not horrible, right? At the end of the day, it's not methylated at carbon-17, so it's not really causing liver stress. So, right, similar to oral Primo.
Yeah, but I don't see it has any place for people on cycle, because Mastro and Primo, Winstrol will all lower your SHBG to a certain extent. They will lower your estrogen to a certain extent, right? Or at least the Primobolan does for most people. And so the only practical application I see for Proviron is for naturals with high SHBG. And then you start, again, it's at a low dose of a quarter tablet once or twice per day. And I've recommended this to several drug-free guys who just don't want to inject, don't want to take SARMs, don't care about getting any bigger. They just want to improve their libido a little bit. And then that's exactly what's accomplished. They feel better, they look better, job done. You know, are they natural? No, because they're taking steroids, but they claim natural. So it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.